Audiobook Review: Salem's Lot by Stephen King. Salem's Lot is a dying town, but not for the reasons many residents think. I originally read the printed version of Salem's Lot when I was 15 years old in Westbrook, Maine. Westbrook is only a stone's throw away from the fictitious town, referred to both as Jerusalem's Lot and Salem's Lot in Stephen King's second novel. My grandmother's farmhouse in Westbrook was a perfect place to read a Stephen King novel. Built in 1765, the house contained countless stories of its own that echoed through creaking yet expansive floorboards cut from the virgin hardwood forests of the mid-18th century. I relished the 4 or 5 weeks I would spend each summer in Maine's mild temperatures on the farm. Television was barely a consideration most evenings after roaming the 60-some-odd acres of land each day, or after heading over to Crescent or Old Orchard Beach. When I wasn't outside, I was reading, and I will never forget reading Salem's Lot as a youth. Let's just say I wasn't too fond of looking out my window at night for several days afterward. I spent many weeks in the summer in Westbrook, Maine as a youth. It was only a stone's throw away from where King envisioned his fictitious town of Salem's Lot. Salem's Lot is Stephen King's second novel and was originally published in 1977. It tells the story of Ben Mears, an author, who returns to town where he spent several years as a young child. He hopes to move into the Marston house, an old house where he had a traumatic experience in his youth, in order to inspire a new novel. However, he finds that other people have started renting the long abandoned house, and he is forced to rent an alternative residence close by. Mears is able to make friends pretty quickly in the small town, including a recent college graduate, Susan Norden, whom he begins dating. When some of the town residents begin disappearing and others die of strange illness, Mears becomes suspicious that the other new residents in the Marston house are literally sucking the life out of the town. King was inspired by Bram Stoker's Dracula to write a novel about vampires infiltrating a small town in Maine. Salem's Lot is downright creepy if the first half of the novel more or less develops the characters and sets the table for the more action-packed second half. The scene is a small town, 1970s America. There are many blue-collar types and quirky characters who are comfortable in their quirkiness. There are a few characters that are more educated and worldly, such as Susan Norden, who describes herself as an overeducated idiot due to her bachelor's degree in art and minor in English. Matt Burke, a high school teacher, knows much of the town due to his many years in the classroom, and Jimmy Cody, a physician, becomes important in the novel. I need to mention the sinister newcomers of Straker and Barlow, who have moved into the Marston house, also weigh heavily in the plot. King was likely took some inspiration for his novel from small towns around the area where he grew up, such as Yarmouth. My favorite parts of this novel include individual scenes in the book which are undeniably hair-raising. I literally got chills even toward the beginning of the novel when King describes Dud Rogers, manager of the town dump, shooting rats. Although it is not important in the plot, it just makes the whole darn book eerie. In Salem's Lot, the kind of place you want to turn around and run away from, but you can't because your feet are stuck in cement. The Marston house is downright frightening. There is a bone-chilling graveyard called Harmony Hill, and there are lots of rats roaming around the town. I am really not exactly sure why Susan Norton moves back to Salem's Lot, other than I guess there really isn't much you can do with a bachelor's in art and a minor in English. King also excels in his ability to take something not very believable, such as vampires, and insert them into small town society. The characters are always fighting to try to believe the unbelievable. The basis of all human fears, he thought, a closed door slightly ajar. I do have some criticisms of the audiobook. While I enjoyed the audiobook and some of the scenes are masterful, I didn't really connect with Ben Mears or some of the other main characters. I'm sure some people do, but for me, I found them kind of bland. There are simply a ton of characters as well. While I am sure for some this adds to the novel, I would have been satisfied getting to know Mears a little better. Also, while Ron McClarty is talented in his portrayal of thick, rural Maine accents, he sounded just a little too wimpy for my liking when he portrayed Ben Mears in some of the scenes. I would recommend this audiobook for any Stephen King fan or for anyone that just wants an example of some of King's more traditional novels. Despite the criticisms, this book is still a special book to me. I would have rated it 5 stars at the age of 15 when I was reading it in my grandmother's farmhouse back in the mid 80s. At 3 in the morning, the blood runs slow and thick, and slumber is heavy. The soul either sleeps in blessed ignorance of such an hour or gazes about itself in utter despair. There is no middle ground. Rating 3.5 stars, story. Narration 3.5 stars, overall 3.5.